You're watching Fugitive Red Eye, and welcome to another monthly movie recap. We got 11 movies, if I counted correctly, in this monthly recap. Again, it's not monthly, as it almost never is. But what are you gonna do? So the first one I want to talk about is a movie I actually saw before the last monthly movie recap, but forgot to mention, and that's The Town That Dreaded Sundown 2014. Now, forever ago, I did a review of the original 70s version of The Town That Dreaded Sundown, and the 2014 movie is a meta-sequel to that, kind of like Human Centipede 2 and 3 are meta-sequels to the first one, right? But the difference with that is, it acknowledges the real, because if you don't know, Town That Dreaded Sundown is based on a real killer who was never caught, called the Phantom Killer, and this is based on that as well as the movie, and the original movie exists within this movie. And this movie sort of becomes sort of a hybrid of Scream and Zodiac, David Fincher's Zodiac. Because, it's them trying to solve the case, and it's also kind of got the meta thing where it's a killer killing for the movies and stuff like that. They also make up an entirely different suspect that is not real at all, and I had to look it up because I wasn't sure. There was supposedly a suspect in the Phantom Killer case, and then it turns out this copycat killer is related to that original killer. I actually really liked this movie. I was very skeptical going into it. I bought it on Xbox Video years ago because it was a double pack that had both movies. And I'm like, well, it has both, so why not, right? So I finally got around to watching that, and even though Xbox Video's dead and you can't actually buy shit on it anymore, I can still watch my library for now, so, that's what I was doing. But again, I watched this right before the last monthly movie recap and just completely forgot to record it. But yeah, it was really, it was a lot of fun, actually. I quite enjoyed it. It's certainly no masterpiece. But, I like Zodiac, I like Scream. This movie kind of channeled both, so was really good. Next up, we have Godzilla Minus One, which is a Godzilla movie, as you might guess, and a really good one at that. And it's one that has a CGI Godzilla that's entirely CGI, but looks really good. It also takes place in the past with a World War II, I think, soldier. Or it takes place in the aftermath of World War II, if I remember. I don't remember. Let me look this up. I gotta double check. It's been a little bit since I've seen this. Okay, I thought it was World War II. But I was second-guessing myself like an idiot. And I'm not really going to edit this all that much, so, yeah, it takes place post-World War II, and there's a lot of devastation, and the main character witnessed Godzilla destroying stuff. It's got a lot of, more emphasis on the human characters, and it's got Godzilla as the villain again, which tend to be some of my favorite Godzilla movies, because, my favorite Godzilla movies being, Godzilla 1984, Godzilla, or Shin Godzilla, the original 1954 Godzilla. I tend to like the ones where Godzilla's the villain more, which this had. And it was cool because, it was like a kamikaze pilot. And, there's even a scene where you think he's going to go kamikaze. And I think it actually would have been better if he did, if I'm being perfectly honest, towards the ending. I get why they didn't, because they had to have, a little romance thing. It was bullshit. Fucking bullshit that his girlfriend was still alive, or his wife, or whatever she was. Because, they show, a fucking building fall on her. And then she's just alive in the ending. And that was absolutely retarded. So not only did he survive, but she did. So that was kind of dumb. I actually think it would have been a better movie if they both died, just because it would have added to the tragedy. Nevertheless, Godzilla Minus One was an amazing Godzilla movie. One of the best, and I quite enjoyed it. Next up, we have Neighbors, 1981. Now, this is a movie that we're also planning to do for movies you probably never fucking heard of, because it's not one that's well known. It's got Dan Aykroyd and Jim Belushi in it, or is it John Belushi? One of the Belushis, I forget which one. I'm sorry, I mix them up all the time. But it's Dan Aykroyd moves in next door and is just being a menace, going in, fucking with his stuff, tricking him out of money, fucking him over, staying in his house, he's a total menace, and the movie itself is a comedy where, they're constantly at each other's throats, right? It starts out really rivalry, but then by the end, he kind of likes him, and I think he's sort of like trying to teach him a lesson to not be so serious and not give so much of a shit or something to that effect. And it turns out that the main character ends up really liking this and like connecting with it and wanting to actually like, because his life's boring otherwise, and he realizes that, you know, his wife and his kids, he's like, you know what, fuck all that, I'm leaving here. And so he actually, at the end of the movie, ends up leaving with Dan Aykroyd. So that was fun. It was definitely an experience. We watched it, like, shortly after we watched the last Dan Aykroyd movie we watched, which was, what the fuck was that one called? It was the last episode of movies you probably never fucking heard of, but, my mind is drawing a blank right now. Nothing But Trouble. That's what it was. It was called Nothing But Trouble. Sorry, I'm drawing a blank. It's fucking 4:30 in the morning when I'm recording this, so I'm kind of all jumbled. And a lot of these things I watched a while ago, since this is, you know, built up over time. I really should have done this a hell of a lot sooner, if I'm being perfectly honest. But Neighbors was a lot of fun. Not that fucking awful, you know, Seth Rogen movie of the same name, which was called Bad Neighbors internationally, but this one was actually a good movie called Neighbors. Next up, we got Thanksgiving. Now, we have not seen the sequel yet, Thanksgiving 3. There is no 2, and that's part of the joke of 3, but we haven't seen 3 yet. But Thanksgiving was a lot of fun. It was a really stupid, like, slasher movie with a killer turkey, really bad, cheesy effects, really stupid humor, unnatural dialogue. It was a lot of fun. It felt like a full moon movie. It also wasn't super long, so that was nice. It's about a killer turkey who kills people for being on, like, Native American land or something like that. It's really fucking funny and stupid. And it has a lot of absolutely absurd shit happening. It's kind of like a similar vibe and stupidity to movies like Velocipaster. Like, it's really dumb, but it's a lot of fun. Again, I do look forward to seeing the sequel. We actually watched it, I think, the day after Thanksgiving, because I didn't have time on Thanksgiving itself. But nevertheless, it is a fun Thanksgiving slasher movie that isn't serious at all. You know, it's kind of like Jack Frost in that regard, except, you know, little even lower budget, I would argue. All right, next up we have Sicario. Now, this is a cartel hitman type video. And it's about these police that are going and trying to deal with cartel shit in Mexico. And a lot of the movie's, like, focusing on that, right? But then, like, the second half of the movie, there's this guy that steals the show, where you find out there was actually this whole secret revenge storyline we didn't find out about until about, like, maybe 2/3 of the way through the movie, something like that. And he's like the Sicario, right? He's the hitman guy, and he's going to get revenge, and it's fucking badass. As soon as that guy starts taking, like, prominence in that regard, he absolutely steals the show. It's a lot of fun, really cool movie. I didn't really know anything going into it. I was actually mixing it up in my head with that movie Serpico when my friend was telling me we were going to watch it because I'm stupid. Because they have similar names. There is actually a sequel to it, but I don't know if that's going to be any good. But it was a lot of fun. I liked Sicario. We watched it on Hulu when I was over at my friend Theron's house. And honestly, like, there were moments where I was like, oh yeah, this is badass, this is pretty cool. Or there was other times where I'm like, okay, yeah, let's see where this goes. But then once that guy, like, you find out, oh, he's going to get revenge, I'm like, okay, this is fucking cool. I like this a hell of a lot. And he kills this fucking guy's, like, kids in front of him and then kills him. It's fucking brutal. Like, it's pretty great. The ending of that movie is awesome. All right, next up we have The Apprentice. Now, this is a movie about a young Donald Trump, and it does not in any way portray him in a favorable light. And it's absolutely about Trump's relationship with Roy Cohn. Now, the movie itself, I have no idea how accurate it is, but I gotta say, it's actually pretty fucking fun. It's kind of like Succession, but with Trump. I mean, that certainly helps with the fact that Roy Cohn was played by Jeremy Strong, you know, the guy who played Kendall Roy in Succession. It's definitely a lot grimier and, like, you know, filthier than Succession in some of the stuff it portrays. And it in a way kind of makes Trump into, like, a Scarface type figure and makes him seem, honestly, way more cool than he actually is. In fact, like, I remember watching it, because if you've been watching me for a while, you know, I was a big Trump guy for a while there, and then I've been really disappointed this last year in Trump, and I've been very upset and kind of done with politics and burnt out on it. But this movie, I'm like, why don't we got this guy? Like, yeah, he does some slimy, shitty shit in the movie, But he was fucking cool in the movie. Like I said, it turns him into kind of a Scarface type figure. And again, I don't know how accurate any of it is. And there's a few parts where I'm like, that's fucked up. There are parts where they do portray him in a sympathetic light, too, though. There are absolutely parts where they make him sympathetic. But yeah, it definitely felt a lot like Succession, so I definitely vibed with it when we watched it. Alright, next up we got the Trailer Park Boys Countdown to Liquor Day. Now, I've recently watched all of the original run of Trailer Park Boys, including the specials and this movie in particular. I have not seen Trailer Park Boys the movie, and I have not seen the other Trailer Park Boys movies that came after this one. But this is the one that was like canon to the show, or at least, that's kind of the idea, right? It follows up after Say Goodnight to the Bad Guys, which was one of the specials, which took place after Season 7. And it's a really fun ending to the show. I do think, personally, I view this kind of as, like, the last thing, because Netflix Trailer Park Boys fucking sucks. Like, I tried watching it again, and, oh boy, is there a pretty radically different, tone and, way it's done with, pre-Netflix and post-Netflix Trailer Park Boys. But this movie is a really good send-off, that is crazy and has them go on a bank heist, and, has Leahy, like, proclaim his love to Julian, and it's fucking nuts. It's a fun movie, and it's a good, final sort of finale to the Trailer Park Boys, and that is kind of what I view it as. Alright, next up we got Pulgasari. Now, Pulgasari is a pretty infamous movie. It's a North Korean movie where Kim Jong-il, Kim Jong-un's father, kidnapped a director and some other people and forced them to make him a kaiju movie. And I'm gonna be honest, going into this, I didn't have the highest of expectations, but it gave me kind of similar vibes in, like, the human portrayal as Godzilla Minus One. Like, legitimately, I think Pulgasari is one of the best kaiju films I've seen. And it's funny, because you hear a lot of people shit-talk it, and I think that's just a cope because it was made using unethical and fucked up ways, and it was made as a propaganda piece for North Korea. But the interesting thing is, Pulgasari itself is a creature from Korean folklore. Now, the one in the movie is pretty different. It's a lot more Godzilla-like. But I actually really like, because this takes place in like a feudal Korea, right? Like, very olden-timey period. And then Pulgasari is, like, used as, like, a revenge thing for this guy who's killed. And it's sort of, like, revolutionary. Like, you would think that a North Korean movie, you would think it would not portray revolution, but the thing is, North Korea bases itself on the concept of this revolution that was done, right? Like, they view people who try to revolt against the current government, obviously, as traitors to that said revolution. So, they obviously portrayed in a positive light in certain contexts. And I gotta say, just the setting, the effects, you get to see Pulgasari start out as this little doll thing, and then he grows to be human size, and then he grows to be bigger and bigger and bigger until he's finally full-on, like, Godzilla-sized, right? And he's kind of like Godzilla if Godzilla was a bull, because he's got, like, the horns, like, he looks like a bull. Even though in folklore, he actually looked pretty different. He's almost nothing like the one in the movie, other than the fact that he eats metal. There's also a really cool scene at the end where they shoot him with these badass cannons that they build. It's just overall a really good kaiju movie. And I know people watch it to shit on it, but I honestly don't see why. Like, it's better than a lot of the Godzilla sequels I've seen. Like, legitimately, Pulgasari was way, way better than I was expecting. Alright, next up we have Diary of a Wimpy Kid, Roderick Rules. Now, this is the second Diary of a Wimpy Kid movie. I've seen the first as well, and I did that for a previous movie recap a while back. And I gotta say, this second one is better than the first one, for the simple fact that it focuses on Greg's relationship with his brother Roderick. Now, if you know anything about me, even though I'm a fucking asshole, my favorite Simpsons season, for example, is Season 2, because of kind of the sappy, schmaltzy, wholesome stuff. And so there's a big part of me that really liked that in this movie. I really liked the parts where him and Roderick were bonding and getting along. And I also like how much of a fucking menace Roderick was early on in the movie when he was fucking with him and trying to, torture him, basically, by being, the asshole older brother, which, honestly, as the asshole older brother, I can relate to it. And I was watching it with Corbin, who was the younger brother who had the asshole older brothers, so he related to Greg on that regard, so that was kind of funny with that while we were watching it. But again, this is my first time seeing it. I didn't watch the Diary of a Wimpy Kid movies when they first came out, but I gotta say this one was a lot more fun than the first one. I already liked the first one quite a bit. I went and bought this one on DVD in a double pack with this in the first one in order for us to watch it. And I quite liked it. They throw like a party at their house while their parents are away, and then they replace the door, but then forget to like. But like when they replaced the door, they put one that didn't have a lock, so the bathroom no longer has a lock. Something interesting about that, though. One would think, instead of just trying to keep their parents away from the bathroom the whole time, why wouldn't they just go get the doorknob from the other door, unscrew it, and put it on so that the lock's back? Like, just do that the same day they get back. Just wait for them to go to sleep, and then go grab the shit and put it on. What a weird, choice to not just do that and to try and just pretend, oh no, it never had a lock, and try to gaslight them on that. And the dad like buys into it. He's like, huh, I guess there wasn't. And the mom's like, obviously, no, she sees through it. But yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. I quite enjoyed Roderick Rules. All right, next up we have Falling Down, which is a movie I have been meaning to see for a very long time. Falling Down is kind of an iconic movie about a guy who kind of snaps and rages out against the system, right? And that it's a really fun movie for that. It's relatable in many aspects, and getting mad at many of the issues in our modern society. I think there's a couple times that the movie almost kind of misses its own point, where it's like, okay, is he really gonna get mad over that? Or, he's taking out this rage against people who are just there. They're not the system itself. But at the same time, also raging and wanting to take out anger on people who are just there is also in a way relatable. There's plenty of times we get mad at the person who's there, who's the face of it to us, even if they're not directly involved with whatever's causing us the problem, right? There's a couple of moments in the movie that are kind of stupid, like the part where the Nazi tries to rape him. I thought seemed really out of character and kind of out of nowhere. I think there's a few times where, again, the movie, like, it's interesting, because, like, the movie's clearly in this area where you can't tell if it's really trying to say, this guy's right, or this guy's like a total horrible monster and you shouldn't think this way. And I think it's a little bit of both. I think it's emphasizing sort of the relatable aspect of, the stress and the irritation with modern society and the degradation of our social order, right? But it also feels like at the end it kind of just throws it all away and just says, but this guy's crazy and wrong and you shouldn't fucking be like him. And granted, you shouldn't do a lot of the things he does in this fucking movie. And I think that also there is a point to be made about, even though the system is shit and life is shit, you don't take out your rage against the people who just happen to be there. But at the same time, I think it does kind of give mixed messages at times. But that's fine, honestly. Like, I think that personally, it's one of those ones you can kind of death of the author it and be like, no, this guy is actually super relatable. Again, not condoning everything he fucking does in the movie, for sure. But, honestly, I had a lot of fun watching it. Like I said, there's a couple of scenes that are kind of bullshit, to be perfectly honest. But for the most part, it's a great movie. I see why it has the status it does. It's a lot of fun. I quite liked it. It gives off similar vibes, too, to some of the stuff in Uwe Boll's Rampage, which is another movie I do also really like that also has a few flaws of its own. But, this is the iconic one with, the guy with the flat top and the glasses and the tie. And, there's, like, the scene of him snapping and shooting and holding, like, the gun and, like, threatening people because they're not serving breakfast at some fast food place anymore. Overall, Falling Down was a lot of fun, and we watched it the same night that we watched the next movie I'm going to talk about, which is Romper Stomper. Romper Stomper is fucking awesome. Romper Stomper is, like, American History X, but, like, way better. Like, the stuff at the beginning of American History X with, sort of the gang violence and stuff that the skinheads are doing, right? Imagine that, but that's the whole movie. And you get Romper Stomper. It also helps that Russell Crowe is fucking cool as shit in this movie. But it's a really cool movie that I think portrays them also in a sympathetic light. While also showing, I think it's also a pretty realistic depiction of the kind of violence you could realistically see a skinhead gang doing, which also, it was loosely based on a real gang, from my understanding, when I was looking at the Wikipedia article after we watched it. Which, again, it also takes place in Australia, which was also kind of unique with that. But also, another thing, it kind of had vibes like A Clockwork Orange, you know, especially the beginning of A Clockwork Orange where they're going around being a menace to everybody. I quite like this movie a lot. I liked the way that the characters were depicted, both in the sympathetic and in the, oh shit, look what these fuckers are doing. I thought that it was a pretty well-handled movie, and it was pretty realistic in the way it was depicted. The violence was also depicted fairly realistically. I think it also did a pretty good job at exemplifying what, like, punk culture at the time was like, too. Like, overall, I just think it did a lot of things right. The only thing that kind of drove me nuts was the fact at the ending that, spoiler, I mean, granted, there's been spoilers all over this recap, because, you know, that's just the nature of the beast sometimes. But the way that Davy still wants to side with that bitch at the end of the movie, after number one, she's admitted that she's the one who called the cops and got that kid killed. And number two, she sets their fucking car on fire. I think it's bullshit that Davy, wants to side with her. And it's bullshit that her and Davy get to live, but fucking Hando gets stabbed in the back. And granted, I mean, I liked that, you know, the Hitler Youth knife that they had at the beginning of the movie is what got used to kill him. I think they were probably trying to do some, symbolism with that, kind of like American History X kind of did, right? And, you know, there's obviously, some bullshit to that, but at the same time, it was good, you know, Chekhov's gun type shit, even though I think that film theory is kind of retarded when people think about that far too seriously. But overall, I liked this movie a lot. I'm definitely going to be getting it. It's fucking cool. Like I said, it's like Clockwork Orange, but skinheads in Australia. I quite enjoyed it. That character, that chick, Gabrielle, bitch. I wish that she was the one who got backstabbed instead of Hando, or that he'd have let him drown. There's a show, apparently, that came out in 2018 that's a sequel. It's 6 episodes. Don't know if I'm going to watch that, but I might. We'll see. I'll probably check it out with Corbin, because, you know, we watched it as a group with the server. We might check out a couple of episodes just to kind of test the water, see how it is, but I'm going to be honest, it's probably going to suck because it's a 2018 show. But overall, this is a pretty big compendium of stuff for our monthly movie recap. And it is nearly 5 a.m., so I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up in a neat little package. And I hope you guys enjoyed. This has been Fugitive Red Eye. Have a good one. Doodles.